See if you can spot it. What is wrong with this picture? So, of course, this was out of necessity in the wake of Chet Holmgren's injury that will keep him out for a chunk of this season. But here's the thing. The Thunder have been playing small well before this, both this season and in seasons prior.
We've been small for like the majority of the time I've been here. It feels like up until we got Chet, we've been small and had to play that way, so it was nothing new for us. And those, I guess, years kind of built a muscle for us and how to play despite the disadvantage. We've been there before. We won games playing small, and we can do it again.
And while Isaiah Hartenstein is coming back to add obvious size, along with Jalen Williams, and then eventually Chet later this season, the Thunder still are going to lean into their unconventional nature plenty and tap into their small lineups. Why? Because they have a roster that is wildly adaptable, with players that can do everything with anyone. Injuries suck and are bad, but none of this small ball stuff is a design flaw. It's a feature.
Well, that's a nice feature.
The Thunder may be playing small, and I'm doing air quotes right now around small, because they are still big all over the floor, except for the traditional center position. They still have plus size at guard and big rangy wings. They have players that can scale up to guard bigger players, which allows for that kind of adjustability. Lou Dort is listed at 6'4", but because of his fire hydrant base and brute strength, he can guard wings that are 6'9" or 6'10", or ball-dominant guards like Luka or Devin Booker. Alec Caruso is 6'5", but he knows how to play angles and uses his hands and elite instincts to make catches tough and just scraps away. Cason Wallace is 6'3", but is sturdy and has a massive wingspan and elite athleticism. Aaron Wiggins, 6'5", guards wings, sometimes guards bigs. SGA is 6'6", and uses his long arms to block shots or deny post-entry passes. It's small ball, but I like how Dub put it. It's really just smaller ball.
I think just trying to throw different things at people because we're smaller. So I think it's just kind of like a scheming thing and just kind of trusting what Mark is kind of having us do and not try and second guess it in the game and just kind of full throttle in it. If it doesn't work, then, obviously we can adjust, but that's kind of what we're doing tonight is just like seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and then going from there.
And yeah, Jalen Williams, who is really the poster child of all of this. He's 6'5", excuse me, Dub, 6'6", and he is all of the above and then some. So let's talk about Dub for a minute here. He has an unusual wingspan, 7'2", which allows him to play and look bigger than he is. He bulked up considerably last offseason, which has added to his physicality on both ends of the floor. And most of all, he's just good at everything he does.
He's got a chance to be a great player, and what makes him great, he might already be one. What makes him great is just how rounded his game is. He's good at a lot of things. Offense, defense, he's versatile. He guards every spot. He can facilitate. He can play on the ball. He can play off the ball. He can finish. He can shoot. He can play in the mid-range. There's really nothing on a basketball court he can't do. And when he's locked in on being a rounded player, which he usually is, he's something else.
A sampling of the players Dub has guarded, and guarded well. Kyrie Irving, Giannis Antetokounmpo, LeBron James, CJ McCollum, Victor Wembanyama. There's not a type or a position he specializes in. He sizes up, sizes down, or sizes the same. He can pick pockets and erase dunks. A rare combo. Of course, Dub has developed his game drastically since he was a rookie, going from a reluctant scorer to a dynamic player that is confident in the highest leverage moments. He was one of the NBA's best fourth quarter scorers last season and did it with outrageous efficiency. And he does it in partnership with SGA. It never feels like your turn, my turn. They are playing off each other with every possession, particularly late in games, and it all feels very organic and matchup driven. I often think of one of the biggest stretches in Dub's early career being 5 games his rookie season where SGA was out. It put Dub in the spotlight, with more of a role and responsibility with the ball in his hands. Thunder coaches had been pushing him to be more assertive as a scorer all season long, and SGA's absence nudged him into a role where he had to be. Coach Mark often would talk about the balance there is with players. A guy like Lou Dort, they've had to try to turn down the offensive aggressiveness a little. With Dub, it was about turning it up. It's all part of the best chemical balance of a team. But again, Dub's ability to leverage that aggressiveness in any matchup brings a dynamic element to the Thunder. Like, look at this play. He's playing the 5 against the Clippers, and he identifies an open floor in front of him and just outruns Zubac to the paint for an easy dunk. It's those kind of trade-offs the Thunder are constantly making when they play small, or really when they play anyway. Against the Clippers, the first game without Chet, they were out-rebounded 47-29, and the Clippers hit 23s. That seems like a recipe to lose. But OKC actually attempted 11 more shots than the Clippers did because they won the turnover margin 24-11 and scored 32 points off those turnovers. Giving up offensive rebounds can be loud because it feels deflating, but when you're trading that for a live ball turnover that becomes 2 or 3 easy points the other way, you're winning the battle on the margins pretty decisively. The Thunder's small units are absurdly scrappy and just create havoc all over the floor with anticipation, IQ, athleticism, and discipline. I guess that's what happens when you tell a bunch of dogs to chase a ball. Am I right?
Go ahead, Bart.
Who let the dogs out?
So much of the turnovers OKC forces come from systematic disruption, and less so gambling. They just do the fundamental things, like timely doubles, having their hands up in passing lanes, communicating, and just understanding where their help is at all times.
I mean, at any point in time, we got 3 to 5 guys that can, guard the other team's best player or be in the passing lane on the backside. So it just was really, really tough for other teams, I think, to handle that.
And then, of course, there's just the sound defensive schemes and principles that are part of it. Here's an example. First game of the season, the Nuggets are moving the ball well, making the right passes, and trying to do what the Thunder do to teams. Create an advantage, leverage time and space. OKC hits a closeout, and Aaron Gordon smartly tries to screen Lou Dort to spring Jamal Murray for an open corner 3. It's all going to plan, but it's blown up for 2 reasons. Dort sees it coming, and second, he just plays hard to dip his shoulder and blow the screen up to take away what otherwise would have been a clean look. Had Dort just died on that screen or played with like 10% less effort, that's a corner 3 for a good shooter. But OKC communicates a good peel switch, and Dub contests a fadeaway, and instead, it all ends up with a stop. That's just sound defense that isn't flashy like a big steal, but it's just as important. It's legitimately fun to watch the Thunder's Ballhawks hound opposing offenses. Alec Caruso is an absolute demon, blowing up possessions almost single-handedly with his hustle anticipation skills. There are the obvious ones, like this pick 3, where he just reads an outlet and has seen that page 1,000 times before. Or like this play, which you'll note has no traditional big in for OKC. Aaron Wiggins steps up to help on the roll, and Caruso is on the weak side as the help defender, sliding down to take away any lob possibility to Steven Adams. Caruso's man here is Tari Eason, who is in the corner. But with Caruso playing perfect angles, Fred VanVleet can't skip one to him there. So Eason does a wise thing and raises to the angle, and then does an even smarter thing and cuts into the space created by the clog that Steven Adams helped draw. But check it out. Caruso gives this super quick glance. You gotta really look for it. With his head always on a swivel, and he sees the coming cut from Eason. That's just defensive smarts and instinct to check for that cut. Now, he's basically baiting the pass, and he closes the gap to break it up and turn it into a steal. That's just genius defense. And he does that kind of stuff like 10 times a game. Earlier this season, with Chet in foul trouble, OKC went super small against Portland and turned up the heat in a third quarter, forcing 10 turnovers in the quarter, 8 of them steals. And Lou Dort had 4 of them on his own. It was all about the physical versatility. But more than anything, they just cranked their intensity and played really stinking hard. And that's really what makes all of this work. Now, the Thunder are going to miss Chet severely. He's the anchor that really ties it all together and takes the scrappy, swarming, ball-hawking defense into a menacing, suffocating, elite one. With the way he started the season, Chet was headed for Defensive Player of the Year conversations, so it's a bummer. But he'll be back, and the Thunder will have the option to be more traditional again with Hartenstein in the meantime. And then, eventually, the opposite of this, with a super big combo lineup with Chet and Hartenstein. Again, unusual versatility across the board. But they are also the rare team that can survive with no one bigger on the floor than 6'6" because of the remarkable adaptability they have. And when they get all their pieces back later, it's just going to add to the already deep toolbox of options they have. It's always a hidden benefit of unfortunate injuries, that you can develop additional skills you otherwise would have missed out on. Except the opening tip. Dub can hand that one back to the tall people.